सोनी ये रात फिर मिलेगी या नहीं, कहना कुछ जरूर है तुम्हें.
Ecstatic to have an incredible talent with me here today. As you guys know, this show is all about spotlighting talent and bringing you guys inspirational and successful stories. With that, we're doing all of that today with Geetesh Iyer. He is an Indian raga creative director and singer-songwriter making waves as his latest single made the Grammy Shortlist. Making the Grammy Shortlist is already incredible, but on top of that, he has performed in over 1,000 stage shows across the world with the likes of Neha Kakkar, Atif Aslam, Shankar Mahadevan, and Kavita Krishnamurthy. He was one of the finalists in the incredible popular reality singing competition Indian Idol Season 5 in 2010. He was a top finalist at X Factor India in 2011, and he also won the title of the Voice of Tamil Nadu in 2012. And if you guys think that's all, you're in for a treat, as he is also a product management leader at Apple Machine Learning. Make sure to follow Mr. Geetesh Iyer on Instagram and YouTube and enjoy music from across the board. Hello, it is so nice to have you here on the show today. How are you doing? And welcome to Dallas.
Thank you so much, Anna. That was a beautiful introduction. It's really nice to hear your own introduction done so well. And yeah, I'm loving it. Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you. Of course, I'm so glad that we were able to fit this time in your busy schedule.
Absolutely. Same here, same here.
Where are you from? Where are you coming to us from?
I live in the San Francisco Bay Area.
Oh, yeah.
And looking forward to this conversation.
Great, so am I. So to start us off, can you walk us through your initial musical journey, like your training and how you got started?
Got it. So, as you might have noticed, my name is Geetesh, which literally translates to someone who sings.
Yeah.
Geet is, so I didn't have a choice, right? So my parents basically didn't leave me a choice.
Yes, not.
That's Indian parenting. So just messing. It's a bad joke. Essentially, I think my parents are musicians.
Mm-hmm.
My mom's a singer. She was my first guru.
Oh.
My father, he plays the keyboard and the harmonium. My younger brother plays the tabla. So I think we are a family of musicians. My grandmother's all India radio artist. So, as I said, I mean, there was so much music around me.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was probably what people did. And I learned Carnatic and Hindustani music for the first 10, 12 years of my life.
Mm-hmm.
From the age of 6 to around 18. That was fundamental learning I did.
Yeah.
And then I moved to Bombay for my reality shows. I learned, film specific singing. Then I moved to Chennai where I learned a little more of Indian like film, light music as they call it.
Yeah.
Coming to the US, I learned a little bit of R&B.
You have a diverse background.
I like doing all kinds of music. Let's just put it that way. I think that's where it all started, and can't complain. I've enjoyed every bit of it.
Honestly, I think it just goes to show how dedicated you are to the craft and that you just genuinely enjoy music if you're willing to learn all of these different types.
Right. I think there's this Vishal Dadlani, who's a major musician.
Yeah.
I think there's this one thing he says in one of his videos. He's like, I'm quoting him. So he said something to the effect that whether or not he's a good singer, he brings in a lot of heart to any music.
Exactly.
If you bring in your heart, if you bring in truth, I think the people in front listen and they enjoy it. So I try to do that. That's all. Talking to you and doing this kind of music is also part of that journey. So yeah, that's how it is.
I think that's also something that can be applied to different parts of your life. Just bringing heart into anything will inherently make you successful. And obviously we've seen that bringing that heart has made you successful. So now you said that you had a bunch of different classical training like Hindustani, Carnatic. How do you think your time in Indian Idol 5 and X Factor, how has that affected your music and your journey in general?
It's a great question. I think going to these reality shows, I think there's two things I can really think of. I'm sure there's a lot of other intangibles that I've picked up. I think one of the things is I got to meet some incredible musicians. And I realized that I'm from a small town, which is Nagpur in India. And going to a big city like Bombay, one of the first things you learn is like sheer amount of talent that's out there is mind blowing.
Yeah.
So if you really were to make your mark when there's so many those, you have to be original.
That's so true.
You have to have your X factor. You need to have that one thing which identifies what's Anya.
Yeah,
what is it that Anya is known for? What's your moat? In business circles, they say that. So I think that was the first thing. With so many people, in addition to learning from them, I think I realized that I will never make it if people don't see me as that I bring something different.
Exactly.
So that was like the first thing. I think the second thing is that I think you just have to be very good at what you do. There's no place for mediocrity. You can be like, I mean, if you are comfortable with that, it's great. But if you are looking to, make something out of your career in an industry which is driven by certain standards, I think you have to be really good at what you do. I think these are the two things, and of course, other things. I have great friends from there.
Oh, good.
Who are like still.
You still keep in touch
with
other
I think we have like a group and stuff.
Like when you're placed into that situation where there's so many people doing the similar thing, like how in America people like influencers and singers and artists, they all go to LA. Because then you realize that there's so many people like you. Because I'm sure in your town, like you were seen as like, like the big singer, and then you go to Bombay.
Exactly.
Everybody's a big singer.
You're not. Yes, exactly. So I think we didn't have influencers back then.
Yeah.
But it's a very Indian thing to say, "Yaar, kya bond hai?" It was just a very very Indian thing to say, "Yaar, kya bond hai?" But then you go to Bombay and it's like, "Sabhi bond hai, sab log bond hai." So I think that's a very and as an 18, 19-year-old, it's difficult to come to terms with all of these. Also. Because suddenly, I'm like, dude, I was a cynosure of all eyes.
Yeah.
Suddenly, everyone is so good. I think you're right. Absolutely.
And I think it's a testament to your character as well that you were able to go into that situation. There are so many people around you, and you could have, again, settled for mediocrity, which is fine, but you decided to take your musical training and take your like passion for music and create it into something that would make you different. Like you were a finalist in both X Factor and Indian Idol, which is a testament to your career in general.
I think a lot of it is also right person at the right time.
I mean, for me personally, I have grown up watching Indian Idol. It's a thing that me and my family do all the time. Do you have any like funny backstage moment or just a highlight of shooting in such a highly publicized event like X Factor or Indian Idol?
Oh wow, we were there for a long time. So
how long is shooting?
So
for a season?
Specifically Indian Idol 5, I think people who go on until the end, they were there for like good 4 5 months.
Wow.
A lot of fun stories, but I think the one thing that someone reminded me of a couple of days ago was this is a story about one of my audition rounds. I was supposed to go in next.
Yeah.
So, and I was going to sing Shukran Allah.
I love that song.
That song, right? Yeah. So it's a great song, and the track was going to start without a key. And I was really nervous, and my fellow singer was Tia Kar. And Tia and I, we were like at it. Like both of us knew we were going to rock it. We were really positive. Yeah. So there's this other singer who was going to go like 4 songs after us for the audition. But she kept singing, and I kept asking her that please don't sing, because I need to remember the key of the song. Because the song starts, I have to start the song before the musician gave me a key. So I have to remember that.
Oh, yes.
And if you keep singing and if you keep throwing me off, I'll not be able to do it.
Yeah.
So I kept telling her that, and she would just not listen. In reality shows, there's always a guy with the camera in front of you.
Yeah, of course.
And I started yelling. I'm generally not that, but I started yelling. I was under so much pressure. And with Indian Idol, one thing is that you don't get to sleep a lot.
Oh,
you are,
really?
like if you have multiple days, you have lots of things going on, especially during audition theater rounds. You sleep at like 2-3 in the morning, you get your song at 2 o'clock.
Oh, wow.
You're practicing for a few hours, and the call time is like 8 o'clock in the morning.
Oh.
So you're at it, right? And I remember I was already sleep deprived, and I'm like, dude, this is the biggest audition of my life. Please don't mess with this. And this person, she kept singing, and I just yelled, and there's this glorious video of me yelling and swearing on TV, not endorsing people do it. But someone pointed out that, dude, I've never seen you lose your mind.
Did they air that moment?
Oh yeah, they did.
Oh, they aired
it?
it?
They aired that.
Oh.
So they introduced us as Tia and Geetesh ki good-looking couple is how they introduced us. Right after that, cut to me yelling. This was one of the funniest things, and all my friends, they point out this section of mine. It's like, dude, what were you thinking? You want to go next. All you had to do was shut up for a bit. But it was hilarious. Yeah, I think that is one incident out of many which I will never forget. NCPA in Bombay. Yeah.
That is so funny. I don't know. Reality shows are so interesting, especially like looking from the outside in.
Yeah.
There's a reason that people are so obsessed with it, because they want this they want the drama, they want the excitement, and they want to see the singers as real people, which I think you displayed perfectly with that moment.
Exactly. And for the first time, I mean, growing up in a conservative home, my father would have scolded me for all of this.
Oh, yeah.
But he's like, yeah, dude, it's okay. And the second thing is, after the Indian Idol thing aired, that was something else. I mean, my life changed that day. Facebook had just become big in India. I had 5,000 friend requests. I had like some hundreds of We Love Geetesh Iyer fan pages. And this was the time of, cyber cafes. You won't even know what that is because we wouldn't have internet at home. So we'd have to go to a place to access internet.
Oh, okay.
And I was living with my bachelor friends. So we'd go to the place and I called my friend like, dude, this is happening. He's like, no, you're reading something wrong. I had like 10,000 notifications on Facebook and like lots of friend requests. So I remember thinking that maybe I should become friends with a lot of them. And then, I might get opportunities. So my friend and I would literally go to that place, Cyber Cafe as we called it, and just accept friend requests. So it's like 500 friend requests in 30 minutes because we paid for 30 minutes. So it was just, when I was talking to my friends about these things recently, I mean, can't believe
it's so
done all
funny.
of that. It was hilarious. It was hilarious. But it was part of growing up, right?
You had an incredible growing up journey here on Indian Idol.
Absolutely, yeah. These are two things that I cannot forget.
Yeah.
I can absolutely not forget.
So funny.
But thanks for bringing this up though.
Of course, yeah. So obviously we've been teasing your career on Indian Idol. We talked about your singing journey, like how your education. So is there any way that you can give me and my listeners a sneak peek into your voice by singing a couple lines, maybe?
Sure. Should I sing something like newish?
Yes, I think newish would be good because we have a lot of youth listening. So
I'll sing this song that really made Arijit. It was one of his breakout songs.
Oh, really?
हम तेरे बिन अब रह नहीं सकते, तेरे बिना क्या वजूद मेरा, हम तेरे बिन अब रह नहीं सकते, तेरे बिना क्या वजूद मेरा, तुझसे जुदा अगर हो जाएंगे तो खुद से ही हो जाएंगे जुदा, क्योंकि तुम ही हो, अब तुम ही हो, जिंदगी अब तुम ही हो.
Wow.
Thank
I
you.
really hope the camera didn't catch my absolute shocked face when you started singing. Wow. Okay.
Thank you.
First off, I think it's so incredible how you can hear the different parts of your training in your voice. You can hear that more like R&B, more modern, what I would look for in a favorite singer, and then you hear the way that you jump from note to note, which is very like classically trained.
Thank you.
How melodious! I have no words. That was incredibly melodious. Your range is incredible.
Thank you.
And I'm looking forward to hearing more of that singing as we're going to be continuing our conversation. As I said in your introduction, one of your original compositions was shortlisted for a Grammy nomination. First of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
And second of all, can you explain, one, what does it mean to be shortlisted for a Grammy nomination and your experience throughout that whole process?
Absolutely. So first of all, I'd like to also mention Rohit Batra is this amazing producer that I worked with. Yeah. So thank you, Rohit. So there's a couple of songs that actually did well, and I think one of the songs is called Kehna Na. And Kehna Na is what I think that's one of my recent songs. But I think if you talk about the process, I think what happens is for Grammys, like for Oscars, right? So what happens is there is a community of people who are chosen by the Academy. Right? So first you release your song, make sure that you have your copyright sorted, and after that you have it available in all the platforms, and that becomes easier for the jury to be able to access that. Yeah. And then once you make the submission, you have these links associated with it and people who listen to it. So I think that's the process. And after that, I mean, if you make it further from there, what people do is you get a nomination. And I think that's a completely different thing. Yeah. And after, even after you get your shortlist, you can pitch your songs. Oh. So there's ways in which you can pitch your songs. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of communities for specific kinds of music. So you can pitch your songs. Mm-hmm. That's a massive process, but this was one of our earlier songs. Mm-hmm. You know, as someone from India, we're not used to so much original music growing up. Exactly. Film music is left, right and center in India. So coming here and doing everything on your own, I think the fact that it got recognition speaks volumes. And it says that you're in the right direction. Yeah. I think that was my biggest takeaway from that. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think from a process perspective, that's all we did. and then we waited for people to respond. So it was great. It was great. Very excited about that.
Yeah, that is fantastic.
Yeah.
That you got shortlisted itself is
It's kind of reassuring that maybe the music was in the right place.
Of course. So speaking of your original compositions that got this recognition, what are your inspirations when you create these compositions?
Oh, it's a great question. I am a very chaotic person. I think you would have seen me in the interview so far. I'm not a very structured.
Yeah.
That's not my jam. And I think being chaotic helps because I let my ideas run amok. Right. So I have like 50 tunes that I think of and I just put it out there.
Yeah.
And based on something that comes, I'll write it down. I have this thing for, this is a very strange thing to say in publicly, but
okay.
I have this thing for unfinished stories. Unfinished stories need not be romantic necessarily. There's a lot of emotion associated with unfinished stories.
Yeah.
And there was this time I was writing a lot about it. And I wanted to write something about, a love story where, two people decided to not be with each other.
Oh.
It's not really a sad story.
Yeah.
It's not a sad story. I mean, whatever, logistics, you live in a different continent, I went to study elsewhere.
Yeah.
It could be whatever, right? It's the idea of unfinished stories which fascinates me. So, especially for, let's for example, Kehna Na, right? The first song I wrote, composed, and sang. Kehna Na was, I think there was this one day, I just wrote a few lines and I had a tune in mind. So, कहना कुछ ज़रूर है तुम्हें, रहना मेरे करीब है तुम्हें. So it's basically saying that I know that you want to live with me. I know you want to say something, but I know it's technically not possible.
Yeah.
But that's okay. So that was the idea of the song. So it's pretty random. It's one of those things while I was just thinking. And I wrote it in one sitting. So literally, I just sat on, it was in Chennai, I wrote on the table, sat on the table and wrote the entire lyric and came up with the tune then and there. The song was composed in 20 minutes. After that, it was all about producing it, getting the right, updating some words, background music and all that. But yeah, I mean, for me, I can't sit on a song for long.
Yeah.
If I started a song, I will most likely have finished it in a day.
Wow.
So this song was particular. It was very special because everything I'm saying to a lot of listeners might be, man, this is so much jazz. I don't know what he's talking about, but believe me, once you start doing it, it really makes sense.
Yeah.
And yeah, this was one of my things about unfinished stories. That my first song was about an unfinished story. Awesome.
Oh, nice.
Exciting.
Yeah. I mean, it goes to show how your process is unique. And the fact that you were able to create something, have so much creativity in your mind, create something in one sitting, and just make a song based on what interests you.
Yes.
I think is wonderful.
And in what mood I am.
Yeah.
Right? So if you watch the movie Rockstar, I think it touches upon that story a little bit, where Ranbir Kapoor says that he wants to have his heart broken, so he has a story. So so I think that's an extreme version.
People say that a lot about modern singers these days too. Like if you talk about American pop singers, people say that Ariana Grande breaks up with her boyfriends or Taylor Swift breaks up with her boyfriends to write an album.
Yes, I have a feeling that it's all energy, right?
Yeah, of course.
It's all energy. It moves from one place to another. And these people went through a life event, so there was so much energy. You could do multiple things. Some people use it for negative things. Some people have the ability to channel it towards positive things. And I think that's what Adele, the first song was outstanding song. And I think she wrote that after some major life situation. So I think there is some truth to it. I do agree. There is some truth to it. Absolutely. The one time I can't write anything is when I'm very happy.
True.
I cannot. I just absolutely cannot. I don't know why.
Shows how connected the creative process is to your emotions.
Yes, it is very much.
Speaking of the creative process, you are an Indian Raga creative director.
Yes.
Can you explain your role?
As a creative director, you essentially are kind of manning the whole thing in the sense from a creative perspective. You're kind of taking those decisions wherever you need. Indian Raga is an outstanding platform where I've been creative director to multiple shows where you kind of, if it's a live show, for example.
Yes.
So you're kind of tracking what is the kind of songs you should do, what based on the audience that you have, how should you create, how should you tell your story. So that's for the shows.
Yes.
If it's for a song, you're basically guiding a lot of Indian Raga participants on what should be the flow. Sometimes things don't work. Like for example, some people, even if they are musically very talented. Sometimes it's not two things don't gel.
Yeah.
How do you bridge those things? So providing inputs on it and creating it sometimes, creating those inputs using your background. So I think that's what it is. So it's a very good point that it's a little nebulous in terms of what you do, but you kind of do everything. Yeah. You're making sure that everything's in place, and then there's a final mix. There's something not right in the final mix. You're like, you know what? Make that change. That's not okay. The length is too much. Let's reduce it. That song maybe not, but the whole process of creation is more from what do you want to tell the user, what or the listener, saying that hey, what is it that you want to listen to, and then work backwards from it. So I think the creative director kind of does that.
We've heard so much about your creative process. We've heard about your Grammy shortlist. Is there any way that you can sing for us a couple of lines of one of your original compositions?
Absolutely. There's one song which is very special, the one that I spoke of. I think it's called Kehna Na. कहना कुछ जरूर है तुम्हें, रहना मेरे करीब है तुम्हें, सिर्फ जज्बात है पहेली नहीं, सोनिए रात फिर मिलेगी या नहीं, कहना कुछ जरूर है तुम्हें.
That was marvelous.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for singing that. I absolutely adore how your voice is so full. It fills up an entire space, and the way that you're able to convey emotions with your voice. So we are coming to the end of the show today. I wanted to ask you just a couple more questions before we sign off. One, I just wanted to touch on the fact that you are a tech product leader as well. So just give us a quick lines on how you manage the different facets of your life, working in Silicon Valley, being a father, and of course, being a creative director and a performer.
Well, I honestly don't know. I think a lot of that has to go to my family. I think my wife is incredibly supportive. She's also a tech leader. So she kind of does a lot of the management part so that I get the opportunity to get to do this. But I think I live a life where one part of my life leads into the other. As a product manager, one of my jobs is to spend a lot of time with our users. That's why I say users and listeners interchangeably. Yeah. Because at work I say users a lot. With music I say listeners. So you say that I mistake these words quite often. But I try to use the skills from one skill to another. So so I'm generally more excited about everything. I think family-wise, they have been so supportive that I get that time, which is reducing now that my kid is growing up. So I need to spend more time with her. I'm a data scientist turned product manager. So, a lot of my life is data driven, data related. I feel that music is very mathematical. Yes. In addition to the fact that it's a storytelling. But if you think about it, music is a very right brain thing. Yeah. Analytical thinking is very left brain. Right? I think if you think about that's the major difference. Yes. So right brain versus left brain. But I think the places where the two meet are the core tenets what make music and music and analytical work. It's data, numbers. This is where the two of them get bridged. And I think because I'm good at that, I think I'm able to navigate the two of them a little more easily. And of course, my interest in working with listeners, users, and my comfort with that makes it easier for me to kind of do that. So I'm hoping that we do this interview 2 years from now and I'm still doing the same enough job, touch wood, touch glass. But then I think in summary, most of the credit should go to my family. That's why I'm able to do this.
That's very sweet. Of course, it's always good to have a support system. Absolutely. Everyone I interview has talked about how strong their support systems are.
Because I think one thing that people don't realize is behind every person who gets to be on the camera, there's 10 people who made sacrifices. And those sacrifices are so important and they have never spoken about. And very simple sacrifices like they could have gone to watch a movie, but they instead chose to drop you to your music class. Yeah. They could have gone to hang out with their friends and made something better with their career, but instead they decided that they'll take you to a program. it's very small things, but
they
then when they
up.
add up,
Yeah,
exactly. And I think that's what I feel about my dad. He sacrificed a lot for me, and now my wife is doing that. So they are like the unsung heroes in my life.
That's very sweet, and I hope they know that this is a huge shout out to your family, that they're doing an incredible job, and of course you are as well.
Thank you so much.
Now we've heard a lot about your career, we've heard a lot about the singing that you've done. What are some upcoming projects that you can tell us about, and what should our listeners look forward to?
Awesome. So as part of my, I think there's a few things that's going on. The performance with Shankarai Foundation with Hassan, one of my favorite comedians. And I think there's a bunch of live performances on the East Coast. So from literally musical projects, I have 2 originals coming up. One of them is called Mere Kariba Na. It's a lullaby. There is another song called Fasla. Now these are going to come in different languages. For the first time, I'm doing a song and doing the lyrics in multiple languages.
Wow.
So there's going to be a Tamil version, there's going to be a Telugu version for both these songs. And I don't want to talk about something because it's still in the works.
Of course,
There's something going on in Mumbai.
Ooh.
And
very cool.
Yeah, if that will be big news. That will be big news. I hope I get to talk to you about it once it's out.
I hope so too.
That's in the next few months.
Yeah.
But fingers crossed. First class.
First class.
Yes.
Well, okay, we're 2, 3 times. 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3.
Exactly.
All right.
But hopefully when your singles are released, and then when this project is released, I hope we can put them on the Youth Spotlight with Anya's show and discuss more about your career as it flourishes and blossoms even more than it's been so far.
Thank you so much, Anya. Very kind of you, and thanks to all your listeners
course,
to give me a patient listen. And I'm very excited. I'm excited that I came to Dallas and got to hang out with you.
Yeah,
and
thank you so much.
Family. Thank you.
Thank you. So thank you for taking the time out of your very busy schedule here in Dallas with all of your performances. I'm like completely floored by your talent and the fact that you have such passion for music, and that has directly translated into the success that you've had thus far. I think it's very inspirational to listen to. We look forward to seeing you grow, and everybody who's listening, make sure to give Geetesh Iyer a listen to on all the music platforms, and we'll have his socials up as well. And I just hope that we can keep in touch and I can check in with you throughout your whole career.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And Anya, thank you for having me. You're doing a great job.
Thank you.
I think you're building your brand. You're finding your identity. You're finding that originality that we spoke of. And I think that is outstanding. I'm very excited for you. I'm hoping that you keep doing this on a larger scale every few months. And hopefully the next time we meet, we are meeting on a much larger scale.
Yes,
and that'll be so exciting.
We'll be on a stage.
Absolutely.
Yeah, very exciting.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you, Anya. Thank you so much. I just realized I got some Pasoori, which is like the perfect for this audience. 3, 2,
1, go.
अगलावा मजबूरी नो आन जान दी पसूरी नो शहर बने हाँ तेरी पी जावा मैं पूरी नो आना सीओ नहीं आया दिल बांग बांग मेरा टकराया कागा बोल के डस जावे पावा प्यो दी चूरी नो रावाच बावाच ओनू लुकावा कोई मैनू ना रोके मेरे ढोल जुदाइया दी तेनू खबर कि वे होवे आ जावे दिल तेरा पूरा भी ना होवे हाँ बनिया बनाइया दी गल बात कि वे होवे आ जावे दिल तेरा पूरा भी ना होवे पूरा भी ना होवे पूरा भी ना होवे.
That's the vibe. Yeah, that's the vibe we go.
मेरे दिल ने चुन लिया ने तेरे दिल दिया रहा तू जो मेरे नाल तो रहता तुर पे तेरी आसा जीना मेरा है हुण है तेरा कि मैं करा तू कर एतबार मेरा मैं करूं इंतजार तेरा तो दिल तू यूं जान मेरी मैं तेनू समझावा कि ना तेरे बिना लगदा जी तू की जाने प्यार मेरा मैं करा इंतजार तेरा तो दिल तू